On today's podcast, we are talking about relationships part 2, and we're going to talk about the next 3 relationships that are going to be pretty hot topics for today's discussion. Frame on Inc. podcast starts right about now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. It's your boy Simbawi Nibaye Jr., a.k.a. TK, along with my man Omar Williams. We call him O, and Denise Obi. We call her D-Nice. Y'all say what's up to the folks.
Hello, hello.
Good people. How y'all doing tonight? It's another Wednesday, and I think O's got his days mixed up. He thinks it's nighttime. It's 7 a.m. in the morning. That daylight savings time got you, huh, brother?
He's messing with me, man.
It got me.
Head, man.
Listen, man, you ain't the only one. So all of you out there that's got daylight savings time still on your mind, get your mind right. It's Wednesday morning. Let's get it. Before we get to our conversation today, you know how we do. It's Affirmation Wednesday. Get our affirmations in and out the way. So if you got your affirmations written down, or if you got your tablet, your pad, or you got to memorize, let's get through these and get our day started and continue on with the day. Are you ready? Here we go. Today will be a good day. Today will be a great day. Today will be an awesome day. Today will be an amazing day. Today will be a phenomenal day. Today will be stress-free. Today will be a stressless day. Today, all circumstances, issues, and situations will work in my favor. Today, I will overcome all barriers that want to block my progress. Today, all things will line up for my good. Today, I'll become better than who and what I was yesterday. I am a go-getter. I am victorious. I am triumphant. I am an overcomer. I never lose. I either win or I learn. I take authority over this day. I will dominate this day. I will conquer this day. And everything I have spoken into this day will happen as I have affirmed, because I am more than a conqueror. Let's get it popping. So, on last week's podcast, we talked about relationships part 1. And in part 1, we talked about the different forms of relationships. And those were the platonic relationship. Those were also the... Oh, gosh, can't even see it here. The romantic relationship. Did I say the time messing with me too? And the codependent relationship. So, and we talked about those in great detail. And so we were able to discuss those from both the male and female standpoint, and in general as well. If you missed that podcast, go back to it. There's plenty of information there for you to get, because in this particular episode, we're going to talk about the other 3 forms of relationships, and that is the casual, open, and toxic relationship. Before we get into that, just a brief review of last week. We talked about how the platonic relationship is more of a close friendship kind of relationship, and that normally, or mostly, does not involve anything that is sexual. Then we talked about the romantic relationship, and that there involves feelings of love and attraction, sometimes even infatuation. We're not going to go into details on the difference between, a love and infatuation. We're not going to go there today. We're just going to leave it basic and simple. And that, of course, can be, you're dating someone, intimacy, commitment, whether you're married or it's just someone that you're dating. Then we talked about the codependent relationship. And that's basically an imbalanced relationship where one person is typically the needy one and the other person is the taker. And so in that relationship, sometimes we said that can sometimes be toxic, but we also see that not just among, adults and adults or teenagers and teens, it's also between parents and children. And there can be a healthy way of doing that, and there can be a non-healthy way of doing that as well. If you want to get the full details on what we talked about, check out the podcast before this to get the full episode of our relationships part 1. But today we're going to talk about casual, open, and toxic. So number 1, I'm going to go through these really quickly so we can get both O and Denise in on these. So the casual relationship is often involves sexual activity without any commitment. Okay. It's basically, defined as, promiscuity or one who is being promiscuous. Okay. If you're not sure what that means you're just kind of with, a number of people. Let's just call it that, leave it there. And most common among young adults. Now, I will say this, it might be most common among young adults, but that doesn't mean that, people who are middle-aged or even seniors don't partake in a casual relationship. Some examples are, one who's either been married for a number of years and then happens to get divorced. They're up in age. They may decide to date again, but they don't necessarily need to choose to get married. Okay. Or, you have someone who had a bad experience with marriage, whether it's between their mother and father. They saw a lot of divorce. And so marriage may not be a part of what they want to do, but they do want to date people and kind of, see how things go. And it's kind of casual. It may become serious. It may not. But that's kind of what we're looking at here without going into really deep details. We want to, keep it kind of PG, here in the Family Money, but keep it PG, but keep it real. Keep it PG, but keep it real. All right. So that's your casual relationship. It involves sexual activity without any commitment. We'll come back to that. The other form of relationship is the open relationship. And that is a non-monogamous relationship where both partners are dating each other and are dating other people at the same time. So to keep this plain and simple, this can also involve sexual activity with more than one individual, where, again, there's no commitment, but you may have your numero uno, but then you may have your numero dos, tres, cuatro, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly.
So, right. We'll come back to that one as well. Then finally, you have your toxic relationship, and that's, for me personally, is probably the bottom of the bottom of where that's one you don't need to be involved in. And this is basically an unhealthy relationship that harms emotionally, physically, and psychologically. And this kind of involves, a lack of support for a particular individual. It involves a lot of blaming. It involves a high level of control, disrespect, and dishonesty, a high level of poor communication and stress, and many, many others. Those are kind of like your top tier ones of what a toxic relationship can involve. And that can be, again, emotionally, physically, or psychologically. So what I want to do is what we did last time. But before we do that, now the different types of relationships that can involve, something that's either casual, open, or toxic, along with our first 3 from last week, are family, friendships, acquaintances, romantic relationships, sexual ones, work, and then situational. We'll talk about situational next week. That's going to be a hot topic because, that's going to be a hot topic. That's all I'm going to say. So like we did last time, we started with O, and O kind of gave his point of view from the male perspective of what these 3 relationships will look like. So, O, from the casual relationship, from the male standpoint, what does that look like from the male standpoint, or even from the male and then from your own perspective or standpoint as well?
Yeah, no, I'll speak from my own perspective. So again, a lot of these relationships got to take me back to when a time, right? A time to where I wasn't quite a time where I wasn't living up to standard, right? So like a casual
Amen.
relationship,
Amen.
right. So like casual to me was just what you explained. Like you're going around, you're suiting, the ladies, you're talking to ladies, you're faking. And what I mean by faking, you're acting like you like them more than you do just to get what you want. You know what I'm saying? You're casually you're being casual. But like what I know now is casual relationships can turn into casualties.
Ooh.
Ooh, hot topic. Hot topic.
Yeah, man.
Write that down, ladies and gentlemen. Casual relationships can
Yeah.
turn into casual teas. Okay.
And it's just and I'll like I said, I'll stop on this point and I'll let Denise go. It's because a lot of times with casual relationships, one of the two parties are not being honest. One may be dealing with it. The other one may be lying, like, they are cool with it and they're not really cool with it. And then it becomes something other than casual, which then becomes toxic. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
Gotcha.
Man.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
All right. So we're gonna come to Denise in the second half. So I'm gonna stay with you right now.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about the open relationship. So the open relationship, talk about that from the male standpoint or just from your perspective.
Yeah. So my perspective on an open relationship, it's that it almost sounds like you're committing to one, but open to others. Which it's almost like an oxymoron. It's like how can you commit to one and you're open to others? Is that a true commitment? Right? It's like, how can I commit? Or unless you're saying I'm committing to 10, but me and you, like, if I go to a girl and I'm like, yeah, no, me and you, we ride or die, but these other 9, if you don't mind, I can, I'll do what I want to do.
These other 9, if you don't mind.
These other 9, if you don't mind, but you my girl. Like we got something here. So open relationships, I don't see how people even do it. Back to my original point, I think just like the casual, open can become a problem too. There's movies out there. I don't even want to give it no light, but there's movies where the couple thought that they might have wanted to add another person involved, and then the two got cooler with each other, and then now one's jealous, and it's just one big problem with this openness, right? So
right.
Openness, from my perspective, I don't know how y'all pull it off, but you know what? To each his own. No judgment here, but I couldn't even do that in a former life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So, our last one, our toxic relationship. And I'm just going to throw this in real quick. It sounds like the casual and the open can kind of lead to this, but I'm going to let you elaborate. Yes. We're going to come back to this again when we have Denise go. But the toxic relationships, just go into that real quick from your perspective.
Yeah, I just think that the like I said, the other all these relationships we talk to can become toxic, right? You could have a platonic relationship that could become toxic, just like a casual and an open, and a romantic. Like all of these can end up becoming toxic. And I think toxic relationships come from people just not being honest with each other, people lying to one another, people telling each other this and they mean that. You know what I'm saying? That codependency we talked about last week. You're doing things, it just all boils down to me to just being honest with whoever you're having the relationship with. And when you're not honest of your needs, your wants, what you demand, the standards that you set, the respect levels, what you're willing to deal with, I think things can become toxic. You know what I'm saying? I think things can become stressful. I think things can become violent. I think, and all the other things that come with toxicity. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Cool. So we had O's perspective from the male / his perspective on these 3: casual, open, and toxic. So we're gonna take a little break. When we come back, we're gonna No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You say just one thing, man. If you didn't hear anything I said, men. So I'm gonna speak from a men's perspective. When you meet a female, please be honest. Be honest with your intentions. Be honest on what you're trying to do. Be honest on Be honest on who you truly are. Because give her an opportunity to judge. Like, no, this is not it for me. Maybe it is it for her, but like, just be honest because it's not right. And I'm speaking from a man to man. Whoever's listening to this thinking they can get their their openness off or their casual off. You dating the same girl for 20 years. So I'm like, nah, we good. I'm telling you, we good.
Yeah.
Get it together. So
I have, yeah, I have heard some things, and I can echo that. Listen, I wasn't always doing what I'm doing now, so I have a past as well. So listen, I'm not sitting here like with the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast, like, oh yeah, I was squeaky clean. I never did nothing. Nah, man, I have a past as well. So and there are things that I did that I'm not proud of, and there are things that happened that I choose not to talk about because some of them just need to go with me to the grave. I'm just going to say that. Because we all have something that we're like, nope, not talking about that because that's a little too close. But yes, I can echo what O was saying. Be honest, because we're men and women are made different. Women are very emotionally attached, where men kind of aren't. Now, that's not to say that in the reverse that there are women who are not and men who are emotionally attached. But I think the original is that women normally are, men normally aren't. But even with that said, we're going to take a pause for the cause, take a little break. When we come back, we're going to get Denise to talk from the female perspective or her perspective as well on these three: casual, open, and toxic. And then we're going to kind of dive in and take some general statements before we end out today. Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. Be right back. Are you looking for an apparel company that's positive, uplifting, and truly cares about you? Then look no further. Frame of Mind Inc., an apparel brand company, impresses on individuals to think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. Get positive apparel, such as t-shirts, hoodies, and wristbands for children, teens, and adults in various colors and sizes. Customized services include logo and t-shirt design, screen printing for individuals, families, schools, profit, and nonprofit organizations. You can reach Frame of Mind Inc. at 302-689-3499 or visit their website at www.frameofmindinc.com. Frame of Mind Inc. Think it, speak it, achieve it. Welcome back. We're back here with our second half of our show. And before we left, we were talking with my man O about his perspective on the casual, open, and toxic relationship. And now we're going to have Denise jump in here and talk about those three from her perspective or the female perspective, one or the other. Now, just so you guys know out there, both, Omar and Denise are not speaking for both the male and female population, but they are speaking from their perspectives on what they know, what they've seen, what they've experienced, all that stuff. So everyone has their opinion. Everyone has, what they want to say. But because I know people are like, well, that's not what I think. It's not what okay, that's fine. But we're talking kind of in generalities here. But let's be honest. These relationships are what they are. They're defined as such. And we're having a conversation about it because we believe that relationships are very important when it comes to any, walk of life, whether it's personal relationships, financial, business, whatever they are. They're all important, and I think we need to take that into account when we're dealing with individuals in our lives, whether they're there for a season or for a portion or for our entire lives. So, with that said, Denise, thank you for giving your perspective today from the female perspective, as I just clearly stated, and so, casual relationship. Tell us about that from your perspective as a female, kind of what that means or looks like to you.
So, casual relationships, that's kind of, I think, hard for females because somebody always gets attached. And casual is just saying, oh, we're just kind of going with the flow. And going with the flow does not always work with the females. I don't care what female tells you. Going with the flow sometimes it doesn't work sometimes because either somebody always catches feelings, uh, they break it off right at a point where they're like, "Oh, I thought this was going somewhere, so we're moving to a more serious relationship." So casual, it's kind of tough, but it happens. It can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how the two people say, "Okay, we're casual, we're just dating, going with the flow, seeing how it goes." And if you're both on the same page, then it can work. But that's not always the case because sometimes it can be misinterpreted and somebody catches feelings, and then next thing you know, somebody's heart is broken.
Yeah, that or someone ends up on snapped or whatever.
All
You know what
right,
I mean?
there you
So
go.
we don't
That's the
want that
show
to
for the
happen.
women. That's the show for the women. So
We don't want
nice,
that to happen at all.
right?
Exactly.
We don't want you to get snapped.
No, 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 no.
So, all right, so cool. So we learned that today, if you didn't know, that most women, well, not most women, that someone is going to get attached. That person,
Right.
more than likely, is going to be the female. All right, that's what we kind of heard here. So, like I said, it doesn't mean that the male can't, but that might be the case. Which O said, communicate. Just say what your intentions are from
Your
the get
intentions
go.
are. Yep.
So the open relationship. Let's talk about the open relationship from your perspective. As far as she's shaking her head already, like nah, nah, bruh.
That's that's what I can say is no. Because open relationships, it's like that's hurt. That hurts worse than I'd rather do a casual because open. That's saying, okay, I'm in a supermarket. I'm going shopping. I pick up the nicest grapefruit. Then I'm like, you know what? I want to get another grapefruit, and I want to get another grapefruit. And you know what? I want to keep all these grapefruits. And it's like just pick one to eat because you're not gonna eat all at the same time. So it's like
Wow,
it's 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 right. It's borderline with toxic. It's borderline with toxic. So
wow. That
open,
analogy just kind of really made it all stand out right
yeah,
there.
no,
Just get one fruit. That's it. Don't get more than what you can handle.
yeah. So
I mean, so it's very hard talk about the open relationship. I mean, without really going into detail. Now, look, like we know what that is, right? We
right,
know what that
right.
is.
Yeah.
Again, it's promiscuity or one being promiscuous. And in an open relationship, it's just kind of like you know, it just seems like it's like anything just kind of goes. And again, that can also be a time where someone may decide to catch feelings, and now it's kind of like you done found out all this extra, and it's just like, wait a minute, like I don't know, all this was going on.
Right.
So yeah, but I agree 100%. Just a flat out no, just flat out no, no thank you. I'm good. So
No.
toxic. Let's talk about the toxic relationship from your perspective.
Toxic. Toxic is very toxic. That's what I can say. Toxic is toxic. That to the point that the guy and the girl, they're just not only maybe it's an open relationship, but also they both have issues from the past that they never dealt with, and it shows up in a relationship in a way that maybe we need more than counseling, or maybe we need to heal from some things, or it
Mm,
could be abuse, not just physical but mental abuse. Because I've had friends who have been in toxic relationships, and
mhm.
they're thinking, "Oh no, but he loves me or she loves me." And I'm like, dude, it's toxic, and to the point that
Yeah,
until they really got it in their head that this person doesn't love them and it's a toxic relationship, then they realize,
yeah.
yeah, toxic is toxic, and
Toxic is toxic. Like
you
my man O said, it's a lot of toxicity going on
right,
Toxicity.
in a toxic relationship. Toxicity.
There you
I
go.
said
right,
toxicity.
Toxicity.
right,
Toxicity. I'm sorry.
yeah,
So I'm going to go back to casual real quick. And I'm going to kind of give a perspective in general here. So casual, we talked about it involves, sexual activity without any commitment. So number one, if you're not committed, then why even do it? because my look at this is that, number one, the perspective or the form of relationship between two people. We're talking about whether it's friendship, male or female, married, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever we're talking, that perspective. If you're not going to be committed, then I would say just not even involve yourself in a relationship of that manner, because one or the other is asking to get hurt. Because as Denise said, someone eventually is going to catch feelings, whether it's the male or the female. It's going to catch feelings, and that's going to cause a problem. Now, from the sexual standpoint, I want to make this very clear, because this kind of goes along with the open relationship, is that when you involve yourself in sexual activity with multiple people, you take on certain characteristics of that person with you when you have completed that act. I'll say that again. You take on certain characteristics of that individual after completing that act. And that could be spiritual, that could be natural, and any other emotions or feelings that we have. So be mindful when you are out here having these relationships. You have to, the commitment is there for a reason, and marriage is there for a reason. Now, of course, if you're dating your boyfriend and girlfriend, you're trying to see where relationship's going to go. I get that. But there also we just believe that there are boundaries that need to be, taken and established, because once you cross those certain boundaries, many times there's no way of going back, especially when you've gone too far. So from a casual perspective, hey, let's not even go there. Let's see how things are going on. Now, if it's going to be casual and it's not going to be any sexual activity, I mean, okay. But like Denise said, we're going to see where things go. Communicate, things of that nature. If you're in an open relationship, like we just said, that's just a no-no. I mean, that's opening the door for all kind of chaos to happen. And you know what the open relationship reminds me of? It reminds me, and I'm gonna get a little biblical real quick on you guys here. It reminds me of kings in the scripture that had a wife and they had concubines. That's what it reminds me of. Because now it's like, yeah, I'm married to you, but I got all these other concubines that are my wives as well. And it's like, wait a minute, like, how does that necessarily work? Like, and without getting into really detail, it's kind of like, as a man, that may be great at first, but when them problems start happening and you got all that estrogen in your household, like, that's a lot to take on. I mean, I don't think any man really wants the problem of trying to make sure that you are satisfying, naturally, emotionally, and mentally, all of these, women, because in all honesty, I don't think you're capable of doing that. That's why it says be committed to one person only. And for the female too, let's just make sure that we're talking both sides, because it's not all about the male, because there are females that do the same thing. We're not going to go into great detail, but it goes both ways. And then, of course, finally, the toxic. That right there is one. Again, there's high levels of control, disrespect, and dishonesty. High levels, where it almost becomes to the point where you're using your influence to control the individual, to control what's happening, and kind of do what it is you want to do. And then on top of that, knowing that what you're doing is controlling the other person's feelings and emotions, and you really don't care. And at that point, it's like, why even be in a relationship? Like, you don't care anymore. The other person does, but because they don't know how to get out of it and how to get help, you continue on because now I have control of the situation. Like, don't do that. And if you happen to be in a toxic relationship, please, ma'am or sir, get help from someone. Get someone to help you. Or like Denise said, run. And sometimes people may say, well, it's hard to do that. Listen, I get it. But I would almost guarantee there is someone in your life that can help you one way or the other, or get you help one way or the other. And so please, if you are in a toxic relationship, please get help to get out of that relationship. That is not healthy for you or anyone else that's attached to you. Get it? Got it? Good. I do want to go back to one thing that O said. He said that casual relationships create casualties. If you don't hear nothing else today, you need to hear that. Okay? Casual relationships create casualties. You got it? All right. We're going to take actually no, we're going to stay here because we're going to kind of wrap this up now. So, anything else that either you want to say on these three relationships, casual, open, or toxic, before we kind of wrap things up?
Let me just I'll wrap this up. I'm gonna give my little point at the end here. I'll say this to the men, especially the younger dudes who are not married and looking for, you know, a lovely lady to marry, hopefully, right? I'll say casual relationships are great. Just no sex. Enjoy the casual relationship, date. You know, you're supposed to find a wife, right? So you do your thing, but no sex, no lying, no dishonesty, no making her think she is numero uno and she's not. Be honest, but look for your wife. That's my advice, and I'm gonna tell you, the sooner the better. Take it from a 42-year-old man who is an advocate for marriage. I feel like the sooner you can build with another person, the better. I know sometimes young men, we have this thing where we're going to have our whole 20s. We just going, we're going to be like Mike Lowry in Bad Boys. I don't know if you know the reference. And we're going to get to 30 years old, and then all of a sudden we want to settle down, right? Well, guess what? The lady you should have married is gone now, right? So I don't mean to be preachy, and I'm gonna leave it at this. Young men, telling you, find one early, casually date, but no sex.
Yeah, I can echo that. Echo that as well. And you know, sometimes I think it's hard for people in general, but particularly younger men who are like, well, you're telling me not to do X, Y, Z, but you did it. It's like, yeah, well, I learned from experience that that's not something you should do.
Try to get
because someone told me that, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Then I had to learn. And then O had to learn. So it's like, we've been there and done that. Now, we're not out here boasting about it and, trying to throw our trophy in the air, because no, that's not what we're doing. What we're saying is that we've been there and done that. And so the good thing about it is that it didn't get worse before it got better. Like, we didn't get in so deep where now it's kind of like, man, like, I got to live with this for the rest of my life. Like, to a degree, like, your past is your past. But there are some things that your past can grow seeds out of, and you can't get rid of that seed. That seed is there. Like, you can't uproot it. You can't get rid of it. You can't, nothing. It's there. So please, young men and women as well, listen, take heed. We're here to help and provide value to you guys. And of course, yes, have fun, but also in all seriousness to give you value you can take, back and learn from, take to other people as well. And, have a life that was meant for you to have, that our lovely Creator meant for it to be. All right, before we go, I want to give you guys, I told you guys on the last podcast, we were going to give you guys the product of the month here. So I'm going to do that right now. For those of you who are getting the audio version, you won't be able to see this, but you can hear where you can get it from. So right now, if you can go to our website, frameofmindinc.com, you can go to our online store, and we are doing a special right now on our Be Constructive, Not Destructive apparel wear. So right now, as you can see here, there are, you put in a code, which is called Constructive, when you go check out. And right now, it's the short sleeve shirt right now. We will add another piece to it next week. But this is going to be available to you guys today through Saturday. Today through Saturday, you can get the Constructive, Not Destructive t-shirt. I'm wearing it right now. This is the green version, and I'll actually point towards the camera here so you guys online can see. Be Constructive, Not Destructive. It comes in brown, green, and black as well. So you guys can go to frameofmindinc.com/store. You can go pick that up. Put in the code Constructive in the cart or during your checkout and receive a discount on that. We have sizes of small from adult to, I believe, 4X. So all of you who wear a little extra, clothing, we got some of that for you guys as well. All right, so go pick that up. It'll be available again from today until Saturday, and then next week we're going to add another piece to it. But that right there is going to be available for you guys effective immediately. All righty, cool beans. So if that's all we have today, continue to think it, speak it, and achieve it. Join us next week where we're going to talk about situationships or situational relationships. That is very interesting to me. I kind of learned about that about a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, this looks interesting. I think I want to talk about that. So we're going to talk about situationships next week on the podcast. You don't want to miss that. That's going to be a pretty juicy, hot topic. So join us then. And until then, me, Denise, and O, we holla. Thank you for joining the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. And as always, here at Frame of Mind Inc., think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. As our tagline says, think it, speak it, achieve it. See you next time.
It's a frame of mind. It's what you say and what you do.
Don't forget to check us out on the web at www.frameofmindinc.com, where you can browse our online apparel store, listen to some of our original music and production services, as well as view our videos and projects we've done for our clients and customers.